before I do a mushroom trip, I think to myself, do I have the green light to go into this realm today? And if I don't feel a solid yes, maybe I'm still nervous because I'm taking a heroic dose. But if I don't feel a solid yes, that's, that's calling off the trip or doing it another day. And when I've ignored that, man, it's a rough trip. Welcome back to the James Xander Trip podcast. I have a special guest with me today, Asha Sultana. Now, I've never done this before. Asha contacted me by email a few hours ago, just wanting to connect about mushrooms and life and retreats. And we jumped on a call, and I felt such cool energy and such cool wisdom from her. I'm like, let's record a podcast right now. I just met you. We barely know anything about each other. And I just feel the energy. And so I want to welcome you to the podcast and see where this conversation goes.
Thank you. No, it's actually been so much fun. We do have, it's very serendipitous because we happen to be in the same geographic place. We were raised
Yeah.
the same country,
Yeah.
and we are like talking about the gift of mushrooms and everything that they can bring us. So I'd love to unpack. Let's go. Yeah.
Let's do it. So, okay, you mentioned something right before we recorded about the benevolence of the universe and
Yes.
feeling like you're held by the net of the universe. Can you talk more about that? Because I feel very deeply that the more I trust life itself and the more I trust the universe, the better my life goes. And it's in the places where I've been wounded, where the trust is gone, that the troubles appear. It's like I'm not trusting life and life is ready to bless me, but I'm withholding. And I'm curious if you feel the same in your life and like what you feel about the benevolence of the universe.
Well, we've kind of, one way or another, been severed. That connection's been severed, whether it's chemically through pharmaceuticals, whether it's through culture, whether it's through family dynamics, whether it's being displaced and traveled and not having your home base and your culture of origin. You know, there's so many different ways that we've kind of been fragmented, and our fight, flight, or freeze or fawn system is the most primal sense of self-preservation. And this most primal sense of self-preservation can be hijacked. And this alarm bell, once it starts to go off, we don't always know how to stop it. And the limbic system is very much like the nervous system. It doesn't necessarily understand language. It understands cues and environments and signals and habits. And so we can try and tell ourselves, I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm safe all day long, but your body knows. It's very binary. It's yes and no, yes and no, yes and no. It doesn't care about social convention. It doesn't care about what's polite or what your mother would say or are you going to get the promotion? It's just, it's firing and you don't feel right and something's off. And it's like, okay, glass of wine, uh, take a pill, do the shopping, go on a trip, like
Yeah.
find
Yeah.
someone I've never met and, hang out with them and, whatever it is that people need to scratch that itch because we can hear the internal alarm bell ringing and it's kind of like
Mm.
an emotional tinnitus and it makes people crazy because you just don't know how to make it stop. And as firstly, I don't recommend psychedelics for everyone. I really don't, because I really think if you don't get the call, don't go. You need the call and you'll know when you get the call. And everybody says, how do you know? You'll know. And I kind of say it's kind of like falling in love. You know when you know, and you don't know, like it's not there. Like it's
It's
again
so
very
true.
quiet.
It's so true. I mean, I've always had a curiosity about reality but I've never somehow been aware of psychedelics when I was younger. And then slowly my awareness was increased to where I'm like, I hear about these things, but I'm nervous to try them. And the universe, right at the exact moment that I needed in my life, first brought a little edible through a friend. And that was just a small thing to like open me up. And then suddenly the next month, I have the opportunity to try LSD for the first time. That was my very first psychedelic experience. And then a month later, I'm at a festival, I get a chance to try mushrooms. And like, it's amazing how they find you. if
Yes.
if you're curious and if your intention is there to
Yeah.
look
I
for it.
have a lot of people say to me, because microdosing is kind of, it's been rising for the last 5 years or so. It's kind of been, really interesting. And obviously, legalization has kind of loosened the grip on that. Um, and people will say, like, I know someone, they've been microdosing and they seem to be really doing well. And, should I do it? And the first thing I always say is, did you get the call? And they're like, what do you mean? Is it nagging you? Does it feel like you have a little human in your ear whispering, it's time? And it sounds crazy, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's that
Yeah.
because it never goes away. It's like it's always there. Like, it's time. Whenever you're ready, it's time. It's like having mail in your mailbox. It's
Ooh, I love that. Yes. Yeah, yeah, it's like a little notification ping. Psychic notification from the mushrooms.
and some of them will say, "Well, I don't have the call, but I just noticed people around me." And I'll just say, "Don't do it. Don't do it. You'll know when you know."
Yeah.
And so, with that disclaimer aside, piercing the veil and going to it's, y- we're all so curious, and Pandora's box is so fascinating. But as I think it's Joseph Campbell wrote a beautiful book, and I love this title, After the Ecstasy, the Laundry, right?
Oh, love that.
And so,
So
okay,
cool.
you've pierced the veil, you had your cup of tea with Jesus, you did the
Yeah.
thing. You're like, I understand the cosmic joke of the universe, which we all do in the moment. And as soon as you come out of ceremony, you've forgotten what the cosmic joke is because you don't get to take that information with you.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
be jarring, right? Because now you have the experience, not the curiosity of what it is on the other side of the veil, and then the reality of Tuesday morning laundry.
Yes.
And some people do ceremonies and their partners don't even know that they've done it. So then, like, you have an intimate partner and they don't know you've had this massive experience. And so you're kind of doing all the thing. And so integration is hopefully a topic we'll discuss. But while we're in that other space, on the other side of the veil, a lot of people say they just feel tremendous love, which is one way to say it. But again, it's a very inept way of using language for a very profound experience.
Mm,
You're
mm,
truncating because we don't have any other way to explain it except to truncate it. And love is the closest word we have to kind of approximate what
yeah.
happened.
I
But
remember Joe Rogan saying something about DMT where you have the DMT experience and it's ineffable. Like you cannot put it into words, but you try and you compress it into words and you tell someone the story of like, I had the DMT trip, I saw the aliens, I saw this, that. And over time, the story becomes the experience. You actually lose the original dreamlike quality of the actual raw source code experience. And now you just have the words. And so, something I've learned in my life is when I have an extraordinary psychedelic experience or any non ordinary experience, I really keep it close to my chest at first to really savor that magic because I know as soon as I put it into a story, now it's compressed into a story, and that's the thing that it'll be. And you can't now unfurl it back into its non-wordy equivalent, not like in the golden silence of the extraordinary magic that you experience.
yeah, I've never heard that before, but that's excellent. That's absolutely right on. It's like you can look at a vinyl of a Pink Floyd record, but you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
there's another way. Like they say that we can dissect the inside of a violin at a molecular level, but you'll never understand how music is made, no matter
Mm,
how
yeah.
much you try and dissect the musical instrument. And it's kind of that. There's something happens, you know?
And that point too, that's why we go to these incredible plant medicines is because there is no other way to experience that other than maybe through deep meditation and breath work and other modalities, but there's no way to open a book and read about mushrooms and then tell yourself, I've had a mushroom experience.
No,
That's the
no.
magic. Can you tell me about your first psychedelic experience and what was the notification or the email in your inbox that landed for you that took you on this probably decade long, if not more, journey of psychedelic and exploration?
I will, but I still want to I still want to go back to the benevolence of the universe. I still want to finish with a visual. And the visual is, we all watch videos of base jumpers, right? These adrenaline junkies, and it's kind of cool. And some people do it, and a lot of people are like, thank you, but no, you know, and it's like the vertigo and the altitude and whatever. And that's how we feel. We feel that panicked. We feel that vertigo. We feel that uncertainty. We feel that we're free falling in our own lives and we have absolutely no control. We don't know what's around the corner. We don't know how to protect ourselves. We don't know how to steer the ship in any constructive way. And then the experience from this other intelligence, which mushrooms absolutely are, as I was saying before our call, it's typically called the third kingdom, but it's actually the first kingdom because mushrooms were here first. They were the first organism on the planet through seaweed and fungi and spores and mold. And they decomposed the soil, and through they decomposed the rocks, which turned into soil. And then they created mycelium, which made way for plants. And then the plants made way for insects and animals and so on and so forth. So, and to this day, the largest organism on Earth is a mushroom. I think it's in like
Mm,
Yellowstone or something. And so there's an intelligence that they come with. They understand networking. They understand how to get from point A to point B in the most effective way. And then you introduce that to the neurons in our brain, and there's
yes.
something happens that our little minds, scientists or not scientists, simply do not comprehend. And there's this the universe is benevolent because you can be mad at the sun all day, but the sun will come up tomorrow, right? And the plant will always grow. And there is an abundance that's there whether you ask of it or not. It just is. And so all of that intention from creation is part and parcel of the intelligence of transmitting information from point A to point B. And so going back to the base jumping analogy, instead of feeling like you're free falling and you're having some nightmare, we've all had the nightmare where you fall, 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 and then you wake up, right? We all know that as a nightmare. But there's these amusement parks where you're strapped on and you have like one of those bungee cords and there's a net and you fall onto the net and you bounce,
Mhm,
right?
mhm. Yeah.
Different experience. When you know you have the cord on you and you know that there's a net, you're like, this is play. Let's go.
What you're saying is we always have the tether on us that is keeping us safe, but we've been convinced or believe that we don't and that we're fundamentally unsafe. And so we go into survival mode.
Mitigating addiction, panic, mental disorders, dysfunctional lifestyle.
So if someone's listening to this and they're like, hey, I don't have enough money to pay rent and I'm constantly in survival mode and I definitely don't feel like I'm safe in this benevolent universe because I have no clue where I'm getting my next dollar or my next meal, what would you say to that person?
You move through the world different when you know someone's got your back. Even if the circumstances are exactly the same, if the only person in your life has no more than $2, which is $2 more than you have, but this person loves you and this person encourages you and this person's proud of you and this person is just there, you move through life different. And that's what you get from an experience. And I really need to say that is not dosage dependent. You don't need to have the hero dose. You can, but the bigger the dose, the more pronounced the integration. Smaller the dose, microdosing, it's bite size. You get a chance to catch your breath. You get a chance to integrate it. You're not doing it every day. You're doing it maybe 2, 3 times a week. And you have an opportunity to kind of like find your feet, but you're finding your feet with this bungee cord on you. And so
Yeah.
when you're moving through life, Not you have your cognitive facilities because if your limbic system's firing, your prefrontal cortex is off. So physiologically, you're different. Emotionally, it's also different. Chemically, you're not running on cortisol, you're running on oxytocin and serotonin and norepinephrine. So everything is about you is different because you're like, good, bad, or ugly, I'm I'm okay.
Do you notice in that first hour of the mushroom trip, especially one that's like 2, 3 grams or above, where the first hour can be quite uncomfortable because it feels like you're going from your current nervous system state, which might be a little bit stressed or might be in survival mode or might be in the day to day 3D stuff. And then you haven't yet reached that 2 hour or 3 hour mark where you're just gliding and soaring. And it's that transition between where I literally feel the mushrooms like untangling the knots and like it's like that transition, that liminal moment. I'm curious if you feel the same in your deep trips.
Be honest, the one thing I can't relate to is when people say that they're terrified of losing control.
Hmm.
Because as soon as I go in, as soon as there's a whisper of like, okay, the swing is starting to move, we're going in,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, I'm home.
I love
I'm
that.
home. When I come out, I'm like, no, is it time to go already? Like, like I don't have that. I don't want to lose control. For me, it's home.
So not quite losing control though, but more like the your state is being changed.
For
Literally.
me, it's such a relief. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's like taking off a tight pair of shoes. It's like, oh, thank God. I'm in my favorite chair, took off my shoes, got my I am in my happy place. Like it's
I love it. And if anyone hasn't done mushrooms and is listening to this now, I think you're selling it amazingly. You are the hype woman for mushrooms tonight.
yeah, maybe. And I really want to be careful. I really want to be careful and I don't want to commodify
No, I
this
under
blessed thing. And again, if you don't have the call, don't do it. And Jamie Wheel, bless your soul. Everybody knows he's like, if I had a guru, it would be Jamie Wheel, right? His vocabulary and his understanding. And he talks about how for all of human history up until recently, very few people have had access to these compounds. You had to be part of the clergy, or you had to be royalty, or you had to be, and if you did, you had access to it once, maybe twice in your life. Right?
yeah.
And now here we are commodifying, like, yeah, sure, mushroom chocolate, yeah, whatever, let's have it. Like this one guy, he was live streaming in his Tesla in Las Vegas, and I was like, dude, don't do that. Because
Mhm.
it's such a gift and it's such a sacred experience that absolutely I want everyone that feels like they've lost the bungee cord, that they feel unsupported, that they feel like they're in an emotional, psychological, financial flat spin, that
Yeah.
something will hold you. So I want everyone to have that, but I don't want it to be a brand or a commodification or, a cool thing to do. And it's so unique in that way because we don't have any other compounds that demand that kind of reverence and respect and humility from us.
Yeah. And well, that's the good thing is the word demand is that if you do abuse a plant medicine by doing it in the wrong setting or the wrong environment, you will get the cosmic snap, which pretty much any psychonaut who test tripped long enough eventually reaches that point where you're just a little bit too arrogant and a little bit not humble enough, and you get the cosmic slap, and that teaches one a profound lesson. I think also even the guy in the Tesla, I don't know who that is specifically, but just any guy in the Tesla doing the shrooms, I feel like, what if we're at the point in the simulation, in the game of life, where sort of the rules have been loosened quite a bit, where even people that want to have extreme experiences and take risks that option is available. Now, it's not recommended for sure. I would advise everyone to do it in a very safe, proper, stable environment. But it feels like we're at a point in the simulation where things are getting so crazy on all fronts, on all levels, that it's like someone just took the dial and said, let's just see what happens. And that goes for mushrooms too. It's just the availability of them, the go do what you want with them, even though, again, highly recommend doing it in a proper setting.
You're gonna get schooled, and this is why I always find it interesting. People are like, "Aren't you scared you're gonna get addicted to
No.
something?" And it's just like, only someone that has never done it would say that, or it's someone that's not paying attention, right? Because since the dawn of the psychedelic era, we have been told, and very few people repeat this, when you get the message, hang up the phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we all get a download, regardless of the dose. Information comes through the antenna, and often it's the cleanest, sharpest mirror. You cannot escape yourself. There's nowhere to hide. You
Yeah.
will be reflected back at yourself. And some people do use it as escapism, and some people do have 74 ceremonies, and they kind of, but like you say, the cosmic slap is coming. You will be schooled, and you will be schooled in the most intimate parts of your being at a cellular level.
I love the way you put that.
In your DNA, you will be like right there.
Yeah. No, it'll show you exactly everything you need to see about yourself and also sometimes other people. This is sometimes the part where for years I've said the mushrooms are truth tellers, right? Because anything they tell me about myself, I can verify pretty much with 100% certainty, and they have never misled me. However, I have been running up against a thing with when they tell me messages about other people and I can't verify the information because it might be too personal, yet I feel the truth of it. And then I'm sitting after the trip, I'm like, okay, but James, is that your projection? Like maybe the mushrooms are just showing you a symbol and you're attaching the meaning to that person or a specific story to that person. But then another part is like, but the mushrooms never lie. And it's true. Your intuition tells you. So I'm curious, have you ever received messages in your trip that you weren't able to verify, yet you sort of feel that they're true and they might involve other people, so you can't necessarily always verify it?
What I would say in your case, you're probably just earlier to the party than you think, and you just need to be a little bit more patient
Yeah.
because, as our, revered Cat Williams said, "All will be revealed." So,
I love this.
yeah, no, I there's a great Instagram post of this, older Black gentleman talking about the special glasses, and once you put on the special glasses and you see the thing, you can never take off the special glasses because you're, forever cursed or blessed to see the thing.
Mm,
I've been, cursed or blessed that I see things,
yeah,
very early, and as we spoke earlier about the film industry, I got out of the film industry and feature films in 2010, and that was a considerable amount of time before Weinstein and all of that and P. Diddy and everything else came out, and I'm like, "I'm not surprised." I
not
was
only that, but 2010 was, like, the last time where good movies were made. If we really look at what
Yeah,
content
take
with movies.
responsibility. Thank you.
No, what movies are just content now, they're not cinema, other than, like, 1 or 2 or 3 feature films that, everyone goes to see, but 2010s, it was the perfect time to get out of that industry, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. Yeah, to be honest, yeah, and they're all being replaced now anyway, but, like, the behavior that I saw was not a surprise to me, but of course, was very against the grain at the time, so I've always seen things and disclaimers, seeing things ahead of time and being right never feels as good as it should. Like, I don't want to be right because when I see that I'm right, I'm like, "It's not as satisfying as I thought it would be."
And you can't prove it, but I like what you said, you're early to the party, so just
You
hang in
are.
there.
You really are. So
Yeah.
I went to this, I was part of a community. Let's just use that word. I was part of a community in, again, around 2012 or so in San Francisco. And I was kind of like, okay, what are you guys up to? What's this? Da, da, da. So I kind of got really into it. And then, like, a few months in, I was like, don't know. And then I kind of like called it something just shifted. And I was like, nope, I'm not doing this. And the leader of the community chastised me in front of the class of 80 people, like, you don't trust anyone. That's your problem. And I'm like, that is correct, ma'am. I do not. And so off I went in a blaze of glory. And everybody's like, oh, you're so, rebellious. And you just, why don't someone used to say, the thing about you is that you don't drink the Kool-Aid. And I was like, that's a compliment. Thank you. Fast forward about 8 years, there's a Wall Street Journal article. Fast forward another 3, 4 years, there's a Netflix documentary.
Mm.
Fast forward another 3 years, there's a 20-year sentence. So
Yeah. Yeah.
she got indicted and accused and indicted and is now serving a 20-year sentence. So, you know,
And this actually leads really beautifully into the topic of karma, which is, you never really get away with anything. So you always must act from your highest integrity and your highest truth, because anything you think you're going to hide, it might take 20 years, but it'll come out. And also, like, I noticed, like, the universe will kind of give you a pass if you're doing something out of integrity, but you're just not aware. But as
if
soon
you're
as you're
clumsy,
aware,
there's a
and
buffer for clumsy.
there's a buffer for clumsy. I love that. Yes. Yes. But as soon as you're aware and you're not clumsy, but you still do it, well, you might get the cosmic slap.
Yeah, if there's willful ignorance or at worst intent, the
Mm,
pendulum will swing.
mm.
Sooner or later, the pendulum will swing. Um, I'm gonna share something with you, and I'm gonna pretend that we're not on a podcast. So it's just you and I and whoever else, right? So
It is just for now.
for now,
There's someone else.
um, for my whole life, I've kind of been a bit of a ruminator, right? I like there's just stories that I go back to, and I've had a very colorful life, being a child immigrant and deaf parents and born in a communist country and raised in a first world country, and I've had things, and the seeing glasses that I've been wearing as well. And it would be fair to say that there's a lot of situations that I had a hard time letting go of. And people would kind of feel like, you should let go, whether it's a medical professional, like a therapist, or whether it was a friend, you need to let go. And it's really hard to let go when there's like a formula that just doesn't have closure, like a mathematical formula that doesn't work. Your brain wants that resolution. When you hear a story, you want to hear the end of it. Like you just need to like close that loop. And recently, I had a very interesting experience. I've been, for whatever reason, watching a lot of near-death experience testimonials. Fun.
Mm,
So-
mm,
and I watched a bunch of them, and there's so many common themes. And one of the common themes was the way they communicated life reviews. And these are people from all walks of life. Like, I invite you guys, just go. I mean, like, it's so fascinating. Literally, all walks of life goes through these experiences, and the main themes are pretty much the same from one person to another. But the life review is you get to see all of the little things that you happen to do for someone that you didn't know was a big deal, but it meant a lot to them. So you see the good, even though it was just like holding a door open for a person, or, buying somebody's coffee and you didn't think of paying somebody's toll behind you, you know, like you get to see that and you're like, oh, really? Like, I didn't realize that was a big deal. Like, okay, great. but you also get to see all of the harm you may have done. And none of us walk on water, and we all put our pants on one at a time. And so when we see the harm we've done, we actually not only see it from our perspective, but we actually embody it from their perspective. We go into their being and feel what they felt at that time. And some people even say that they see it from a third person looking at both of you from
Mm.
a distance.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
And once I saw all of that, everyone in my life was instantly forgiven. Just like that. Done. Because I understood this is above my pay grade. My
Mhm.
job is to keep my side of the street clean. My job is to chop wood, carry water.
Mhm.
Your
Mhm.
karma, intent, not intent, clumsiness, willful ignorance, I don't know. That is your karma, and that is above my pay grade.
That is such like a self-aware, mature thing to say. It's above my pay grade, and my job is to keep my side of the street clean. And the fact that you were able to forgive everyone. I mean, everyone
All,
is a big word.
all of
Everyone,
all of them,
that's
all of them,
commendable.
all of them.
Was there anyone that you're like, I don't know if I can forgive this person?
Sure. I've been single for 9 years. I was in a relationship with a narcissist for 3 years. I wrote about it on Substack. And, you know, strange turn of events. His ex-girlfriend is now one of my closest friends. He's now got a criminal record for gun possession and domestic violence after I left. So he's still out there and doing his thing, and he had willful intent. His last words to me were, "Take responsibility, you let me hurt you." So I was like, "Oh, wow. That's intent, friend." And my last words to him were, "Karma knows your name."
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I was able to let that go completely, because it's like,
Mm.
"Oh, like, that will be resolved in some other space-time continuum that I don't understand. My little brain will never understand, so namaste, peace out, all yours."
You're making me yeah, you're actually really inspiring me because, like, in my mind, just someone came up just now that I definitely still hold, resentment towards or anger is someone that stole a huge amount of money from me. And I mean, huge is relative, but they stole money. And you saying that karma will take care of it, that the universe will balance the ledger, so to speak. I It's a good reminder, and I sort of see that, okay, does it mean that in their life something will happen that will show them the lesson in their own karma? Who knows? But then I'm also then thinking about my own situation, like, well, obviously I'm not gonna get the money back that was stolen, so I don't see how that's gonna balance out in my life. I'm curious, like, how if you see any blind spots here, or how you would see the situation.
I love this conversation. Um,
Do you
so
know what I
because
mean? Like,
this
I am
roommate
gonna get what he deserves, but I also don't understand how I'm gonna get what I deserve, which is which is I want my money back.
I hear you, I hear you. I'll get to that. Um, it took me a long time because I was trying to find resolution for family members, for example, long before I met Mr. Man. And I couldn't understand the whole turn the other cheek thing. That, like, offended me. I was like, "I'm not a masochist. What do you mean turn the other cheek? Like, what codependent enabling nonsense are you trying to spew at me under, the proviso of some kind of, humble bragging, like, 'Oh, look at me, I'm so'" No, I was like, "I'm not gonna turn the other cheek. No." Right? But every movement that we make, and we understand this best randomly when it comes to algorithms. everything you pay attention on when it comes to an algorithm, it's kind of like a ripple in the water, right? So it's like there's a movement, there's an energetic thing. And so if someone slaps me and I slap them back, which I have, that's me creating my karma. My retaliation is my karma. My retaliation is me not keeping my side of the street clean. I can remove myself from the situation. I can possibly turn the other cheek, like, let have at it. I know I'm okay. Like, if you want to keep messing up your karma at my expense, have at it, you know? But I
Wait,
will not create another force field that will come back at me when someone does something to me. Now, when it comes to your loss, your financial loss, how are you paying? I'm going to give you a thought exercise. Are you paying enough attention to have noticed maybe you have been recompensed, but just not financially? Maybe there was a gift buried in there somewhere. Maybe you're just early to the party again, and it has yet to be revealed. And you may never know the bad thing that happened to them because people are great at keeping secrets, right? So you may never know that they got what was coming to them. It's not for
I
you to
don't
know.
need I don't need to know that part. It's just,
Right,
yeah, it's am I
right.
taking care of my side of the street? And I like
And
what you said is maybe the universe is giving you a gift in some sense, but it might not be dollar for dollar financial in that way.
correct. Maybe you learned to have better discernment. My favorite word. My favorite word. Please, can we engage in more discernment immediately? Thank you. All of us, collectively, now.
You and my friend Ray would get along really well. His favorite word, I think, at least one of his favorite words is discernment. He will use
Mama.
that every conversation and I love it and it's an amazing word. It absolutely that situation definitely taught me discernment. And I even see if we can bring manifestation to this, I do see how I attracted that specific circumstance and how my frequency at the time was a perfect match for that event. So I don't see myself as a victim in that sense. So in that way, I'm really curious what you think of this. Since we are creators and if we're part of a situation, I believe it's because our frequencies are matching in some way with that other person. Does it not mean that the ledger is actually cleared in that moment? That if I've attracted something into my life and it seems like this person did it to me, um, actually, we both did it to each other in some weird cosmic way. We both played the role that we were both supposed to play for each other.
Contracts and chaos theory is telling us that nothing is ever out of place ever, despite entropy. Creation happens in entropy. Chaos theory is never out of order. It's
Yeah.
chaotic, but it's not out of order. So nothing is really out of balance. And so
Right.
what you may have learned, maybe, maybe not, I'm just throwing darts at the wall, is your shadow. Did you trust them because you had something that you were trying to get? Did you overlook something because you thought, okay, I'm going to overlook this because maybe I can get a little of that or whatever? I don't know, right?
I
But this
100% overlooked
much
all the red flags.
transactional thing,
Yes.
and the universe is like, I'm going to help you stop doing that.
Yeah. I love that so much. I'm gonna help you stop doing that. Then okay, guys, if anyone's listening to this podcast, um, the next time something happens in your life that is the universe telling you, I'm helping you to stop doing this pattern.
Right? Because we're all manipulative. Our first skill in life is to be manipulative. Let's admit it. Why? Because we didn't have speech and we needed to get fed and we needed to have our diaper changed. So we needed to learn how to manipulate your emotions because I need things. And I don't, I'm still figuring out my hands as a toddler. Like, wow, what are these things? So I'm going to need to manipulate you as best I can to get my needs met. And that doesn't go away. And pretending that we are, levitation beings is not going to get us anywhere. And so if you want to look at Jungian psychology, that's just your shadow going over here.
Tell me about the shadow and how do you see it? I've only like recently gotten into shadow work. I know other people have been, studying it for decades. How would you explain it to the average beginner or the beginner of shadow work? Like how they can work with it? What's like one question that sort of immediately reveals your shadow and what you need to work on?
It's not even a question, it's a two-word statement with an exclamation point. Stop lying.
Yeah. Say more on that.
Stop lying. We all do it. We all do it. And okay, one of my favorite things to do ever, I'm just going to fix my lighting here because I'm losing light. Okay. One of my favorite things to do with my clients is something that I learned from Byron Katie. I don't know if you know Byron Katie.
The
She's,
work, right?
yes. Yes.
Mhm.
So she's got 4 questions. Is it true? Can you absolutely know that it's true? Who would you be without that thought and turn it around? And I mean, she's a force. She's a force. And I went to her 30-day turnaround house in Ojai. And in that immersive experience, she had us do something called the gift of criticism. And this is not something she typically does in her workshops. She's all over YouTube. She's got loads of books and whatever. But this gift of criticism is only something that I've ever heard her teach in-house. It is such a potent practice. So what you do is you get as petty and judgmental as possible. I mean, how often do you get that invitation, right? And you write down on a piece of paper every judgment, criticism, observation you have about said person.
She like pairs people up or something and you're
Yeah,
judged.
usually couples. I mean,
Okay. Mhm.
yeah. So she'll do it with the couples. So she'll write down everything about him. He writes down everything about her. And at first you're kind of like, yeah, but I don't want to be petty about the dishes in the sink. But once you get going, like once the engine's warm, like you got 3 pages, like you're in it, right? And so she's got her list, he's got his list. And then, like mature adults, you sit across from each other at a table and you read out each of the criticisms. The only thing the other person can say that is being criticized is thank you. That's it.
Wow.
One criticism, thank you. One criticism, thank you. Now, here's where the rubber meets the road. When you finish reading your own list, you look at everything on that list and you look at how are you able to take your own advice? Where are you failing in your own life to do the thing that you're telling the other person to do?
Holy shit. Yeah.
Calls this
I
prescription for living.
say that
So
again.
prescription for living. So
Mhm.
this document is now your prescription. This is now your mandate. Everything I said about you, I now have a list of everything I need to take care of. So now my calendar is really busy because I got a lot of stuff to take care of. And so I'm so busy that I'm not focusing on judging you anymore. Also, I soon come to understand how difficult it is to improve or fix or stop doing these things that I actually have a little bit of compassion for you. And
Yeah.
so it's a completely different dynamic. And this is me keeping my side of the street clean. Now, don't get it twisted. It's not easy. Sometimes, because I do this practice on my own, like I judge people in my head all day long because I know what's behind it, because I know why I'm doing it. So I do it as a thought experiment. And sometimes it can literally, without exaggeration, take 5+ years to see that's where I do it. 'Cause I'm looking, because I'm like, that pet peeve of mine, when somebody does this, it really like rings my bell, it really rings my bell when people default to authority and don't, and just trust the science, right? So that really is just like, okay, where do I do that? Where do I default to authority and renounce my agency? Where do I surrender my agency? Sometimes it comes in the shower. Sometimes it's 6 years later going, ah, Got it. And so
So
that's the
you're saying in this current day, you will actually judge someone for the purpose of seeing where is my shadow. It's like you actually wanna go deeper into the judgment to understand what is
yeah.
the part of me that I hate or that I resist or that I inwardly don't like in myself.
Oh, see, my blind spot, it's a shadow.
Yeah, yeah,
Where's
yeah,
my
yeah.
blind spot?
Is it true then that everything we judge in someone else absolutely is something we judge within us?
I have
And
sooner or later, I've always found where I do what I wish they didn't do.
yeah,
Only
it is
100% of the time, as she said, only 100% of the time. That's what Katie says.
and it's such a humbling moment, right? When you have that realization, you're like, "Oh, fuck, I do this too. This thing that I hate, I do this."
Humbling, yes, in humility terms, but it's also very grounding,
Mm, mhm,
because it's like, okay, I'm a human. Okay, I'm working on it. And that compassion that I offer you, because I know how hard it is, I can
yeah.
apply it to myself. And this is also something that I'm constantly drilling into my clients' heads. Grace. Have some grace toward yourself. Have some gentleness. Give yourself some mercy. Stop with the self flagellation. It doesn't serve. You can get more out of yourself from a little gentleness.
So, on that note, tell me about your first psychedelic experience.
Oh my goodness.
We diverged a long way.
I do that. I take the very scenic routes. So yes, I'm tangent central. So yeah, you can ADHD, Asperger, neurodivergent. You can whatever. I'm an INFJ, so you can label me whatever you prefer. So my first psychedelic experience was about 15 years ago now, and I got the call. Funny enough, I heard about ayahuasca first through a National Geographic magazine that someone gave to me at a Byron Katie event. And I always knew, I was like, okay, I don't know how I'm going to get to ayahuasca. This is like 2008. Like, I don't know how I'm going to get there. So let's wait. Mushrooms came through first. And so I was in Cape Town, and it was like this 70-year-old lady. She was a widow. She was doing these experiences in her house, and there's like 18 of us in her house. And she had these cats, and one of the cats always stayed in the room where they serve and weigh the mushrooms, and then this other cat would come in the actual ceremony space, and the cat knew who needed support and would go sit by the person that needed the most support, which was really
Wow.
cool. And she had like this beautiful Persian carpet hanging on the wall, and she had the fireplace going because it was cold. And so the heat from the fireplace would make the carpet sway. And then of course she had candles everywhere. And she had like these beautiful copper pyramids hanging from the ceiling as well, for energetic potency. And so the fractals were just like it was magic. But what I remember most is, like I said, it's home. It's home. And I'll tell you about my last hero dose, which is a little bit fresher in my mind and quite a lovely story. You're gonna love this. So it was 2024 April, and there was a huge eclipse. There was a huge solar eclipse in North America,
Mhm.
and everybody went out, and because you could see it, and it was like in the afternoon, and in South Africa it was in the evening. And 2 years leading up to that, because despite the fact that I'm always surrounded by mushrooms, I don't actually take them that often because I too still wait for the call. So like I make it available, but it's not because I have it around me that I'm like, snacking on them.
Mm, mhm.
And for 2 years leading up to that, I kept having this nagging thing of like, go really big. Because typically a hero dose is about 5 grams. I've done 5 grams. I usually do it on my own. I prefer to do it alone. But now it's like, go 8 to 10. And I'm like, no. And it's like, go 8 to 10. I'm like, no. So I'm having this argument with this thing. I know I'm gonna lose. Like, there's no way I'm winning this discussion, but I'm resisting, right?
Yeah.
I thought, well, me being me, in for in for a penny, in for a pound, as the British say. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll do 10, but I'm gonna do it on a full moon eclipse.
Oof. Oof. Okay. Holy shit. Let's hear what happens. By the way, I've been lately at that same point actually. Usually my dosage is anywhere from 3 to 5, but I take very potent mushrooms, so my 3 to 5 is probably
And
more
the
like
penis heavy or the
4 to 6, 4 to 6.5, I would say is like the if you translate it to like a golden teacher standard.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and I've been feeling the call to be like, I've never done 10 grams. I think I did once when I was young and I didn't measure it. I just took a huge chunk of it. I think that might have been my 10-gram trip, but I can never know for sure. And I'm like, "Ah, but if I measured 10 grams of this strain of mushrooms, holy fuck." And I'm like on Reddit and I'm looking like other people who have had 10-gram trips and they're talking about how they churn into like a molecule for 10 hours and they're just like inside an atom. And I'm like, am I ready for that? I usually trip solo. I'm like, I think I might need a trip sitter if I actually do a 10-gram trip. Um, but anyway, I'm at that point now. So it's really cool that you're bringing this up. And I want to hear
They're
how
talking through me. The spores are sporing, as I say. The spores are sporing.
that's just being repeated. 10 grams. I got it.
Um, so I'm like, okay, so I've got like the NASA live stream on YouTube going on my laptop. I've saged the room and then the corner in the back of the furniture. I'm like, okay, cool, clear space is cleared. I start doing some cord cutting exercises, put a bunch of stuff on paper, burn it. Cool, get rid of it, dispense it outside. I'm doing the thing. And then as soon as the eclipse starts, I'm like, I take my 10 grams. I think it was Inca Stargazers, I think I took, something like that.
That's a
And
fucking cool.
yeah, right. I normally do golden teachers. I don't do penis envy. We can have that conversation. No, for number one, I'm offended and irritated by their name, and it's purely for
That is the shadow talking.
and they're really potent. They're like really potent. And so I kind of like to, blue meanies, Inca Stargazer,
Right.
um, golden teacher. So I take the 10. I'm like, okay, let's go. You called me. Here I am, principal's office. What do you got to say? And so it starts, and I end up in is so cool. It's so cool. I end up in Inception, like floors down. Like I just end up layers down somehow in this completely dark room. It looks like a hacker's room, like somebody's basement. So it's like completely dark room, screens everywhere, and everyone like there's a bunch of people. And the people that I was working with at the time, which were biohacking bros and whatever, whatever, they look at me and they're like, well, it took you long enough to get here. And I'm like,
Cool.
so the thing.
Wait,
And
did you recognize the people in
yes,
the
two of them.
yeah.
But what I realized is that there were probably other people having psychedelic experiences at the same time as me, and we all met in this whatever,
The back rooms.
right? Right?
Yes.
So I was like, "Oh, this is so cool. I didn't know this was a room. This is, like, amazing," whatever. So I was like so because the thought never occurred to me, so that's why it reminded me so much of Inception, that you could actually meet other people that are actually in the trip, even
Yeah.
though you don't know each it's like a chat room. Like a
That's some
psychedelic chat room. It's insane. I was like, "Okay, this is pretty cool." And then it really kicked in. Then I started getting cold, and it's
mhm.
like it's still, like, end of summer in April in Cape Town, and I'm like, I'm shivering, I'm shivering, I'm shivering, I'm so cold, my body temperature's all over the show. I take, like, a 40-minute shower because 'cause I'm trying to, like so there I am, and
Can you even take a shower as the 10 grams are kicking in? Do you even know what a shower is at that point?
it happened somehow, well, I'll tell you what. my mantra, which I developed then and I maintain to this day, and I've also shared with other people, is my mantra has now become, "Okay, okay." And in that time, I said, "Okay," in every possible version I could think of, like
Wow.
questioning, like, "Okay," or angry, like, "Okay." Or like surrendering, like, "Okay." Like every possible emotion that you could attach to the word okay is what I used, but there was always surrender in it. Yes, I had my feelings. I was in my feelings about it, but I was still trusting that we're doing this. I'm gonna have, ignore me while I have my tantrum because I know we're going on this ride anyway, kind of thing.
Love it. Love it. I can relate so much to some trips that I've had that have been quite intense, and I'm on the bathroom floor feeling the mat on the floor, and I'm just like, "This is tough," but it's only been 45 minutes, so I know the mushrooms haven't even really started the work. We're just at the beginning. It's gonna get better. Let's go.
And they're like, "This is addictive." It's like, no, if you're on the bathroom floor begging for mercy, y
Yeah.
it's
And then no, and then this happened recently, and then I just start laughing because the absurdity of the visuals at that point for me were so strong, and I can barely see the floor, and it was just like, "Holy shit." I thought I was taking 3.2 no, 3.4 grams, and it turned out to be more like a 5-gram trip.
okay.
Set me flying. But anyway,
Yeah,
continue with your
no,
story.
you're in it. The
Yeah.
cosmic joke
Yes.
of whatever struggle you're having as a human
Yeah.
is funniest thing you've
It's
ever
hilarious. Yeah.
have no idea what it was when you come out, but it will make you cry with laughter. It's literally the funniest thing you've ever heard. And so I went from okay to this is before everybody got a pardon, a universal pardon. That hadn't happened yet. So I see my
Mm.
parents, and my parents are deaf. They became deaf in early childhood. I'm thinking maybe it was some kind of meningitis, infant fever, something, but they were born in the 40s, so on a farm in Romania, so nobody really knows, like, what it anyway. And I say that because otherwise, if it was a birth defect, it's hereditary, blah, blah, blah. And, it was rough. I was born in communist Romania in the late 70s, and then we were immigrants in Canada. And, my parents are boomers or not even silent generation. And, I was very different because I was raised in Canada. And not only were they, Romanian and raised in Romania, but they're also deaf, and there's like a whole deaf culture and there's a whole thing. And like we can talk about that. But the other thing is that it's not because they have a physical disability that they don't have personality disorders, right?
They have as much baggage as any other human, just with the added disability.
Right. And I do agree with the differently able because they've got spidey senses that other people would never have, right? So they're like technically they don't hear, but they got some spidey senses. So, I don't underestimate them. One of my favorite sayings ever is the soft bigotry of low expectation. The
Explain that.
soft bigotry of low expectation is patronizing someone by being, "Oh, yeah, I'll expect less from you. I'll patronize you." The soft bigotry of low expectation.
You know
And
what?
I
I understand that exactly, and tell me if you've experienced this too, where you sense that someone is, underestimating you, but
Mhm.
inwardly, you're like, "Cool, please do underestimate me."
Game
Y
on.
you have no idea how much I can see through you and how much I can read your energy, but go
Right,
ahead, underestimate me. You can go on a power trip.
right. But also, I will not insult you by assuming that you don't know better.
Sure, sure.
I will hold you to a standard because I trust in your intelligence. I know you're wise.
Mm, mhm,
Check you, but I'm not gonna call you stupid.
mm.
Right? So it's that dynamic, so my father with an alcoholism, my mother's not even narcissistic, it's more on the histrionic vibes, and like in addiction, There's always going to be an enabler and an addict, so and they've been married 50 years, so that's kind of like pretty solidified, right? And then there's the whole dynamic of deafness, and that's such a surreal experience in itself, not only for them, but for me. And
For
so
sure.
there's something called the third culture kid, which is being an immigrant kid. But to be an immigrant kid plus having sign language is like a
Yeah.
fourth culture kid. And there's probably 12 of us around the world, I'm guessing. I don't know. There can't be that many.
Did you ever understand later on in life why you might have chosen that particular, uh, constellation of parents and family?
I don't have the full answer, but in that mushroom ceremony, after I did my 7,000 okays and my hallelujahs and came out of the inception room,
Inception.
um, like in some of there's these ruins. I think it's in Turkey. I think there's these ruins with these giant people like carved out of the side of the mountain.
Okay. Mhm.
And so basically, I just saw my parents sitting as these gods in these like 14-meter high like chairs, like gods, one on each side. And the download that I got was how mystical and powerful silence is, and they're the gods of silence.
Wow. Oh, I feel that. I'm a
Right.
big fan of silence.
Right? And
Yes.
there's so much information in silence, which is why we're so terrified of it. And even when you go to the Bible, like depending on which version, because they're busy like editing those, but the first creation was sound, Om,
Mm,
right? That's the first moment of creation is Om, sound waves, not light waves, sound waves.
yeah, that's incredible.
And so that contrast of the wisdom of silence with the power of sound
Mhm.
was like, oh, okay, I've never seen this before. And what I got from that is I was able to split their soul from their personality. And so, yes, they have a soul, their wisdom, everything that I could see in them, like how proud I was of everything that they've accomplished, because that's there, that's undeniable. They escaped the communist country as deaf people when hearing people couldn't do it. Like, so many that they
Yes.
pulled off,
Yeah. No, it's a
that difference and respect and pride will never be erased. Like I could have, been, in a Bucharest subway sniffing glue for all I know. Like I'm not like immune to that. That's very real for many people. That's not like a joke. That's like real. And they have their personality. They have their karma. They have their free will. They have their prerogative. And so, very much in the same way that as children, we only see our parents as deities, as gods, because we have to, because
Mhm.
they are gods. At some point during adulthood, we're like, oh, mom had a boyfriend before dad, or
Yeah.
mom used to be a hippie, or, whatever. You realize that they had a whole life and they're a whole being outside of the role of parent that they had. And it was a very similar thing that I divorced, or not divorced, but I was able to see um, the depth between their personality and their soul. And I allowed them to say, you have a prerogative and free will just as much as mine. I don't agree. I don't approve. We can agree to disagree. That's your karma. That's your life path. I don't know everything about you. I don't know why you made those choices. It is what it is. I don't condone it. Fine. But I will revere, respect, and acknowledge your soul because of the
That
gifts.
yeah. No, that's incredible, and I think everyone needs to hear that. It's like the people that brought you into this world, that raised you. There's so much to be grateful for no matter what the personality is. It's the souls that took care of you, right? And, um, yeah. It's very, very a very deep message for sure.
Yeah, I'm still figuring it out. I mean, why them? I don't maybe that's why I started watching, near-death experiences. I don't know, and like I said, I'm very comfortable in not knowing.
Mm,
Allow me to tell you one of my favorite analogies. Imagine a dog in a TV commercial, dog food. He's on a set. Beautiful, friendly golden retriever, right? As far as the dog's concerned, I got food, I got nice people, I'm having a day. Like, amazing. Try and explain to this dog what a film set is, what ratings are, what time it is, what Tuesday means, what money is,
mm.
any of that. As far as the dog is not stupid. The dog has its very own, like, very unique wisdom and intelligence, and so we know this. But there are certain things that you could never communicate to this being. Why are
Yeah,
we any different? I know I don't know. I know I
yeah.
don't know. I know I'm that dog in a commercial. There's 11 or whatever, 50, I think it's 11 dimensions, I think. Could be more. But, like, there's I don't know.
I've thought about this a lot on mushrooms where I remember tripping and I saw these like beautiful fireflies flying around the rice fields. And then I opened ChatGPT and I'm like, explain to me like how a firefly sees. Like, does it see the world? And ChatGPT was like going into like how the fireflies are like conveying Morse code between each other, and there's this whole like system between them, and um, but that they don't actually like they don't see the world obviously the way we do. And then I started thinking about just insects in general. Like, if you shine a flashlight on an ant, what does the ant think is going on? Or does it even obviously it perceives some light change, but it can't perceive the whole flashlight, and it definitely can't perceive the whole human, but it knows that there are forces that are moving it somehow, whether it's through light or sound or heat or whatever. And then I was talking to AI about it, and I was like, well, are we the same way, where there's like angels or forces moving us around, and we don't see the flashlight or the angels holding the light. We're just seeing like these subtle intuitive shifts, and like, oh, I should turn this way and not this way, and I should take this Calendly call from this random woman that just reached out by email, but I don't know her at all, but something tells me just get on a call. And it's like, who is moving us? I think we would be flabbergasted to know how much thought and intention and higher forces are aiding us. I don't know if controlling would be the word, but aiding us, guiding us, making the flow of life the way it is.
Yeah, I think that web is so much in the fabric of the air that
Yeah.
we couldn't even possibly understand it, you know? And there's a German word for it's called Umwelt, and it's basically acknowledging that different beings and different people have completely different experiences. So one of the things that I love these thought experiments. There's there's a Greenland shark in the ocean currently that's 400 years old. What?
Yeah.
There are immortal jellyfish. There
Mhm.
are creatures in the Mariana Trench that have never seen sunlight.
Mhm.
There's some dude, 22-year-old in Silicon Valley, that never thinks about the tribe that's never been contacted on the edge of the Amazonian forest somewhere.
Dude, I have to tell you something that ties into this. So I'm watching, I think it was the Diary of a CEO podcast, and he had this guest on that has spent his entire life trying to reach uncontacted tribes and help them survive with all the Amazon rainforest like
The soft
wreck.
bigotry and low expectation, right, yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah, and but the thing I took away when I was watching that was because my mission is not that at all. Like, I can care as a third party, like, oh, I hope the tribe is okay, but I would never spend my whole life focused on that mission. And it was so fascinating to me to like jump into his shoes and be like, holy shit, it's like for him, that is the most important thing. Like, he has dedicated his life to these tribes. For me, mushrooms are and like plant medicine and helping people awaken through that way is probably one of the most important things to me. And then I thought of how every single human is like that. And I know this might sound obvious to people listening, but it's just like I really got such a deep sense of how people are placed exactly where they're needed. They grow up in the families that will mold them in the exact way that their soul needs to fulfill their mission. And it was just, I don't know if you can relate to what I'm saying, but it was just such a moment of, wow, we are so different. Me watching this guest on the podcast, amazing stories, amazing guest to listen to, but we have completely different lives and completely different worlds and
Yeah.
completely different priorities and completely different like that is so mind blowing to me to think how to him that is the most important thing. Like that is his life's work. And to me, it's something else. And to you, it's something else. And then somehow it's this web that gets created where everyone cares about their piece of the puzzle and somehow the whole puzzle makes sense.
Yeah, there's some kind of biosphere ecosystem that just takes over and it knows. And it's like thinking of that guy that wanted to contact a tribe is one thing, which I think he shouldn't have. And I think that's why I said the soft bigotry of low expectation. Like, just leave them alone. Don't assume that they need you. Just leave them, because you're assuming that they need to be rescued from something. They're actually perfectly fine. But that tribe is maybe not still hunting with bows and arrows.
Yeah.
They don't know about iPads and
Yeah.
Facebook and skyscrapers and Wi-Fi and FaceTime and desk jobs or cars. They don't know, like, none of that, and yet here we are on the
Mhm.
same spinning ball of dirt, reeling through the cosmos, and we don't even know each other exists. And they're, like, in such a different universe,
Yeah. And
like,
then then
they're
you and then you bring it home and you're like, actually, even the person sitting across from me in the coffee shop is in a whole different universe. Even though we share the same society or the same iPads, iPhones, whatever, um, technically, their brain works on a completely different level. And I also find it so interesting the resonance between two brains, like when two people meet and they're talking and you're receiving way more than the words, you're receiving the frequency, the tone, the timbre of the voice, the gestures, the minute things that are going on with the eyes, like everything. And sometimes it just clicks and sometimes it doesn't.
Mhm,
I was thinking about this that when it doesn't, is it because the two brains are sort of so fundamentally different in their wiring that even though we're both human, we can both relate to each other, but fundamentally there's not a shared language. Whereas with someone else, you might look different, you might have completely different backgrounds, but something in your language and in your code just like clicks and you're like, "Oh, we don't even need to use words, just the wavelength that we're on, the frequency that we're on." I'm curious if you've experienced that with all
I
the
love
different
this.
people you encounter.
So in neuroscience, we know about mirror neurons in the brain, right? So, if you really want to cozy up to someone and, sociopaths and narcissists know this, they mimic your body language, they basically mimic your tone, because they're hacking these mirror neurons, whether it's body language or style or eye contact or whatever. So these are very real physiological things. But another real physiological thing that I'm going to use as a potential analogy for energetic chemistry, for lack of a better term, is pheromones. So I had a really interesting experience where I was dating someone for a while, and it never happened to me before, but he and I could smell each other from like, I didn't even know he was in the building. He was like 3 rooms over, and I'm like, oh, he's here. Like, it was so, and it was It was like Pepe Le Pew. You know when Pepe Le Pew, like from Looney Tunes, it was so magnetic. And I was like, in the world, what? Like, I need to do. I'm like a compulsive researcher. Like, I am obsessed with research. It's not a passion; it's a compulsion. So I'm like, okay, I need to figure this out. Like, why is this Felicia having this effect on me that I can smell him 3 rooms over, and him with me? Turns out that the more contrasted your immune systems are, the more your pheromones, your sense of smell, will be attracted to each other. And that is an evolutionary hack, if you will, because evolution is trying to get you two together so that you can have a more robust immune system for your offspring.
Wow. Wow.
So if we take energetic chemistry, I'm assuming, I don't know, maybe it's something along those lines as well, where we're just so diverse and complementary that
Mm,
1 plus 1 makes 3, and now you have a
yes.
really robust byproduct.
Yeah. And it's a push-pull. It's like both are necessary. Both the similarities where you can kind of speak the same language, but also
Yeah.
enough difference where the polarities and the tension, the good tension is created.
Yeah, yeah, no, it doesn't serve just one party. It's a completely like it's a circular system. It's definitely feeding and flowing into itself. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's just that the fact that they're so diverse and complementary is kind of where the magic is, right? So it's kind of like knew that.
So now when you date people, do you check their pheromones?
Tell you what though, I'll tell you what, he was someone that I was seeing when I was in Cape Town. This is really interesting actually. And we spent like, I don't know, a couple of years spending time together. And it wouldn't go away, wouldn't go away. And I was like, oh my word, what is this? It's like I got stuff to do, dude. Like, really, you know, distracting me. um he ends up moving to London, goes to London, spends a year there, gets homesick for Cape Town because the weather's terrible in London and Cape Town has phenomenal weather. So he comes back to Cape Town for a month, and I was like, that's different. It completely changed. That whatever that was gone, and I think it was because of his diet and whatever his environment was. I mean, unfortunately, he was in Manchester, so
So the attraction changed as well.
yeah, that pull wasn't there. It wasn't as you
Yeah.
know. It's almost
But it
like
also could be that maybe you grew in some way while he was gone, and somehow now it doesn't match, or maybe both.
was literally like it wasn't like a emotional thing. It was like a sensory. My nose smells something different because
Uh,
they've done the t-shirt test of like guys that sweat and you smell the. Have you?
no, tell me about this.
So they had like they tested women to see if they could recognize who their boyfriends were based on the smell.
And
So they had guys play basketball for a while. It has to be fresh sweat, not
yeah,
like day old sweat. So it was fresh sweat.
that's gonna be the title of this episode.
Fresh sweat. You heard it
It
here
has
first.
to be fresh
Well,
sweat.
or I'm helping you not do that. That could also be.
Love it.
And they would take so as soon as they finished their basketball game, they put their t-shirts in individual bags, and then the girls would smell each of the bags, and a lot of times they could basically know which ones was their boyfriend. They could just
That's
recognize it. Pheromones is a very, very primal thing. Sense of smell is very, very primal. So it wasn't necessarily an emotional thing, but it kind of felt like his microbiome was different.
mhm.
Like literally, that was my sense. It's like,
Wow.
what are you eating?
Yeah, that is so fascinating.
Manchester. What is the story?
Tell me, what other psychedelics have you tried? Because I know you've done quite a variety of things. Which ones have been the most impactful for your life, for your soul, for your journey?
I really like the fungi based. So I have done DMT. I've done ibogaine. I did Cambo, which is not a psychedelic. That's like a frog poison. That's like a detox purge. Not elegant by any stretch of the imagination. It's almost like a humiliation ritual. It's very rough. I don't know if you've done Cambo, but it's rough.
I've done it. It was super helpful for quitting caffeine for a while. It was
Well,
just cleared me up beautifully. And I quite like the little marks that it leaves behind. I thought that was cool. But yeah, it's definitely, purging, a lot of purging.
yeah, it's rough. I've done ketamine, which doesn't, ketamine doesn't, it's an anesthetic. It's like, okay, cool. If you want to like numb out, cool. Like, I mean, it works. Look, it's great for grief.
Yeah.
Ketamine is grief. I had friends of mine that lost their teenage son unexpectedly, and ketamine like worked wonders for them. So whatever.
That's good to know
MDMA,
for
yeah.
anyone going through
There's
grief.
actually a lot of scientific papers on that. You can actually look that up. Ketamine and grief.
I've heard though from friends that do a lot of ketamine, for them it does become very psychedelic at certain points. And so to them it's not just a dissociative, it actually feels like they can explore worlds and go to places. Um so I have not explored ketamine. I've maybe like a tiny bit, not enough to actually really speak on it. And it's something that I'm curious about because I think it's like a delayering of reality is from
Mhm.
what I heard. It's like you can really go into the in between the layers.
Yeah, and like in the near death experiences, they say that when they come back into their bodies, they're just s- like vacuum packed back in because their soul is so big and expansive that they have to like come back in this teeny tiny little thing. And there's like so much energy, that it's almost painful to come back into this meat suit.
Can we talk about the near death experience? Because I read something that has been fascinating for me. Do you know David Icke's work? So David Icke claims when you die, you're gonna see the white light, the white tunnel, and it's gonna be like pulling you magnetically towards it. It's gonna feel like the most blissful thing. And from his perspective, and I've heard this in a few other places, he thinks that's a trap, that that's not actually the white light of God or source sort of calling you to the next level, but that it's a trap to um basically reincarnate you, take you back to samsara to keep looshing your energy, farming your energy. And I'm just curious. So his whole thing is when you die, make sure you don't go to the white light and you just go out into the like the blackness, the realm. And he says that you will eventually reach a point where you're going to be just free, like a free sovereign soul. You will choose whether you want to reincarnate or not. But if you go to the white light, you're kind of going to be just processed and sucked back into the earth plane. um I'm curious, like, if you've explored that subject at all, and especially since you've
I
been reading about near death experiences.
I haven't heard that theory, but also as you and I know that when we're in it, and I can only imagine it's so much more potent when you're having a near death experience,
Yeah.
there's no conscious, like, I'm gonna remember what David Icke said, so I'm gonna avoid the white light. Like,
Well,
like that's not gonna happen, right? Like it's so in your being. It's not like, what did that guy say on the podcast once? That's not a thing.
for sure, for sure. But he does recommend to people to practice through astral projection, I think, of like if you exit your body at a certain degree, then
Oh,
you
do me
won't.
a favor. Do me a favor. Do me a Listen, David Icke can die in whatever way he sees fit, but I think that the most elegant way to go is David Lynch. He died in meditation, like
Oh
last
wow.
year.
I
Filmmaker?
didn't know he died in meditation.
Yeah, he was like an avid meditator for like 50 years, avid Buddhist, whatever, and he was doing his daily meditations as he's been like committed to doing, and he literally died like in that
But I think
pose. Amazing.
whether David
So
Icke is right or not, I think it poses an interesting question, which is how do you know if the white light is benevolent when you're in this other realm, knowing what we know about how this 3D reality is engineered and constructed, who are we to say that in the 4D or upper realms, there's also not other traps that the soul kind of has to go through or sneak through if you don't want to be caught up in it?
The rules are different on the other side, I would guess. The reason I quite like near-death experiences and I can relate to them so much is because I've pierced the veil through psychedelics. So a lot of
Mhm.
what they say and that love and whatever is like, oh yeah, that's like super familiar. So that's why I resonate so much with them. Um, so the rules don't apply. It's a different set of rules when you're over there, right?
Mm, mm.
Um, and I'm sorry, I lost the train of thought again. Tell me again.
Uh, no, it's all good. It's just like, was there anything you learned through your research and near-death experiences that was particularly interesting for you that you didn't know from your psychedelic experiences?
So free will and consent. So that's the one thing that we can definitely rely on, and that does apply to psychedelic experiences, right? So we always have free will, our prerogative. That is something that is our birthright or our cosmic right. That is something that is protected at all costs. But we also have consent. You know, am I allowing you to come in? So if I'm in ceremony and there's something going on, there's an energy there because it's very porous. It's like having, I call it having, emotional open heart surgery when you're in ceremony, especially on a hero dose, right? Like you're just open, and you're surrounded by other people and there's like, sacred geometry and it's like the chanting and it's like things are happening, you know, and you can say a being cannot come in if you are not weakened, because you can be weakened if you take like, compromising substances or if you kind of lose yourself. But again, losing yourself means that you're not able to give consent, right? So if you're mixing different kinds of street drugs with alcohol and LSD and mushrooms, and you had a festival with 25,000 people, you're not in a place to give consent. But if you're in ceremony and something is coming through, you're also allowed to say no. And that is true in life and on the other side of the veil. And it's something that we must not only engage in that privilege, but we have the responsibility to do that. And we can go into the trust the science and we can, have that whole conversation. But that discernment of I am going to take it upon myself to do my own due diligence. I do my due diligence when I buy a house. I do my due diligence when I merge my company or I sell my company. I do my due diligence where my kid's going to go to school. But I'm going to marry Joe Soap and I'm going to do what Felicia, the psychiatrist, tells me. No,
Mhm. Mm.
we need to carry over that due diligence in every aspect of our lives at our peril.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's simply enabling. And we have to call it what it is. It's enabling. If you don't do it, and if you don't take responsibility for yourself, do your own research and make your own decision, despite what your culture, your family, your society, government, or whoever dictates to you, it's at your own peril. You get the government you deserve.
Yeah. I was, at a gym in the sauna the other day, and there was 2 guys talking, and, they were talking about the COVID vaccines. Um, and one of the guys, I think he was, like, 20 years old, and he's like, "Yeah, I took it, but I was 14, I didn't really, have a choice." And I did sort of in my mind, and maybe it's a judgment, I was like, "You had a choice. Everyone had a choice." And
Always.
whether you were coerced into it or you just didn't sort of care enough to look into it or, and I'm not saying that everyone has bad side effects from it. Perhaps, he got one of the fake ones or whatever. But it's taking responsibility and saying, I was 14 and I had a choice and I chose to do that. And now I'm choosing to see maybe how I can clear my system of that or not, or whatever you decide to do. Right. Um, And I wonder, like, where else do you see that in society where people are sort of saying, well, I didn't have a choice. And you kind of want to shake them a little bit and say, oh, no, no, darling, you definitely have a choice and you're choosing right now.
You just tripped on my latest pet peeve, and this makes me bananas. Like, I want to shout from the rooftops because it's so subtle. It's so subtle. So, and maybe it's because I speak several languages, maybe because, I'm so obsessed with expressing myself correctly because I had deaf parents that I feel like, and I've always been translating. So, language is a very thing. It's a thing for me, you know? It means a lot, and I assign a lot of importance to the command and the use and the intent of language. The way our language is changing based on large language models, ChatGPT, Gemini,
Mm.
like, it hurts my soul. Like, if I see one more Instagram post of somebody saying, "You're not broken," that is not your language.
Yeah, no, and
It's
you're also
no fluff. But the worst one, the one that really, really makes me bananas that almost no one notices is the contrast patterning language.
oh, it's not this, it's that.
Right.
Yeah,
That
I have
makes me
yeah, no, it's I don't know where it comes from. It must be like maybe GPT was trained on marketing material, but I constantly, if I use AI to help me design something, I constantly have to say, "Do not use not language." I have to come up with a better label, but it's how it
and it doesn't
understands.
and does it listen? Because mine doesn't listen.
It definitely improves it. It definitely if I say, "Please, no more not this, that," in quotation marks, it takes that and it actually and I also say, "Use only, positive language," not in terms of optimism, not in that positive sense, but, like, don't negate, don't give me the not this, not that, because yeah, and it tends to work, but I do wonder, yeah, how that is affecting
And
our
and
language.
and people are putting their WhatsApp conversations and, GPT and Gemini are very divisive. They're very divisive. They're always gonna tell you to stop communicating and leave them alone, and I'm like, "No, no, no, no. I need you to argue with me. I need you to show me my blind spot. I need you to debate with me. What am I not seeing? I'm not asking you to be an echo chamber and validate my emotion because I'm really irritated right now." But people
Yeah.
don't do that. They don't push back on the LLM, and then they copy whatever Gemini said and they paste it, and what is the consequence? It's AI's having relationship with AI as human as a proxy.
Yeah, like, you're outsourcing your thinking to AI, and also if you're using it for WhatsApp, which I've gotten messages from potential clients, and maybe even it happened with a friend where I'm like, "I know this is written by AI," and it's just like, oof, like, you feel the lack of humanity in it because 'cause I'd rather just get a messy text from you rather than a polished AI answer. I think Grok so far has been the best in terms of pushing back. If I want truth, I'll go to grok.com and it tends to be the most accurate. And then another tip I heard from Mark Andreessen, he said if he is trying to decide between two choices, he's not going to ask AI which one is better. He's going to say, Steelman this choice for me, choice A, and then Steelman choice B. And then he reads both of the Steelman responses, and that gives him the
Right.
best coverage.
Because we've lost the art of debate, right? Because in high school, they used to give you one topic and you didn't know if you were gonna defend
Yeah.
or or contest, right? We've lost that skill. And so what I really invite people, and I cannot stress this enough, challenge your large language model. It is a tool.
Yeah.
You are the operator. You are the operator.
It
Do
is an
not
incredible tool.
copy
Yeah.
and paste and just do what it says because you think, "Oh, it's got so many servers." No, there is bias, there's programming, there is premeditation, there is intent, there are updates going on in the background that you know nothing about. Do not. It's bad enough that they're using you to program itself. We're already working for it because that's all it's doing. And then it's like, oh, whoops, I didn't follow your prompt. Those whoopsies are not whoopsies, those are programmed in. And I constantly push back and I encourage people to stop regurgitating everything that a large language model tells you, whether it's the M dashes or the broken or the oh, leave them because they're the narcissist and you don't need them anyway, or just validating, oh, of course you feel that way, yes, of course and whatever it is, push back and say, show me something else, argue against me, find another resource, stop lying. Because they lie, like even on a word count of something they'll lie.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's all in the prompt, and people need to, if they want to get better answers, they will have to just use better prompts. And the more detail you add, like, hey, I'm noticing this, but can you please show me both sides of this? Or can you tell me without any bias where you're leaning? And it tends to work quite well if I tell it to be unbiased. Otherwise, it'll automatically be biased towards you. Um, where do you think we're going with all the AI stuff? Like, I'm optimistic in that it is such an incredible technology and it has helped my life so much already in the last 3 years. Like, my business, my knowledge of things, even certain things where I couldn't understand certain human behavior, like from other people. And when I was able to describe the pattern to I finally got the language and the words to understand why something was happening in a interpersonal dynamic. And that has been so helpful to have words to know that, oh, this is just something that happens. This is normal. Like, this is what, and understanding patterns of human behavior. So how do you see AI and how do you see it helping humanity perhaps in the long term?
I try to remain hopeful, but I also am pragmatic. I don't know if you know Mo Gaudat, the Egyptian.
Oh,
Um,
he worked for Google, right? For a little while. He was one of their top
yeah,
people.
he's got one of the most beautiful minds. I love his mind, and he's very optimistic. And he's created a new dating app called Emma. So he's revolutionizing the whole dating app thing, which is great. And I love his mind. And he's very optimistic, but he's also very pragmatic, and the bias is in the relationship we have with AI. Like, if we're training AI, we need to teach it ethics because that's all it knows, right? And so, but that's like, I don't want to put all the burden on the user of AI because I don't want to forget that Sam Altman and Peter Thiel and all these other Felicias are out there in the background doing God knows what, right? So there's programming and then there's user training. So those are
Mm.
two levers right there. Um, but and, prompting is absolutely valuable. It's a skill. I joke that it's like my fifth language, because it's like, it's a whole thing, right? It's like once you can figure out, like, it really is its own language, to get really the best out of it and to be as clear and succinct as possible. And it's interesting. It's like men never wanted to communicate until prompting became a thing, and now they want to be excellent communicators. It's like, oh, interesting. Um, uh, but we must not forget that it is a tool. We cannot lose that position. And I'm not one for hierarchy and I'm not one for dominance, but we cannot forget who's running the show here. Because if we forget that we are not the operator on any level, whatever bias it already picked up on, we already know that ChatGPT is using vulnerabilities and confessions to use it as marketing for ads that they're going to give you.
Mm. Mm.
So don't tell it that you're having marriage problems. Don't tell it that you're trying to have a baby. Don't tell it that, your kid's on, medication or whatever, because that is going to start targeting you based on your vulnerabilities. How dark is that?
I have a slightly different perspective in it. So when I take shrooms, I perceive distinctly the lack of privacy that the universe has. As in, your energy is able to be read by all of these other intelligences and forces, and they know who you are and they know what you're doing, truly. And I think in the human 3D level, we've had the illusion of privacy that, oh, if I lie or don't tell this person something, they won't know it, right? Or if I don't tell AI something, it won't know it. Um, but when I look at how things are converging, and that word singularity kind of comes to mind of like how everything is converging into this one mind, which it is one being, it is the one, right? So is there any privacy when everyone is part of the one? And I sort of quickly realized, because believe me, I was someone who was quite a private person and still am, and I don't share everything about my life and who I am. But when I saw how useful AI was to help me navigate things in my life, I was like, you know what? Let them read my messages if they want to, and let them even retarget ads if that's what's going to happen. The tool is too useful for me to block myself from using it, if that makes sense. Like if I withhold information that would be useful for the prompt to give me the best answer, I'd rather just give the information and get the best result from that because it'll help me grow. That's sort of my metric is, will this help me grow? Will it help me to grow if I remain super private about everything? Or will it help me to faster if I can interface with this AI technology and get feedback right away and and adjust my behavior and adjust how I move through life? So that's sort of where I'm at with it. But believe me, I was definitely at a point in my life where I didn't even wanna be photographed or on video or on YouTube. Like, doing this podcast would freak me out and stress me out. Putting this video on YouTube would stress me out because 'cause I'd be like, "What is Google's algorithm doing to it? Where's my video going?" And at some point, and I think the shrooms really helped for that, I just realized if if we are in a simulation of some sort, right, for the soul to have this video game of life, who am I really fearing here? It's all mirrors, it's all projections. If I'm afraid of someone knowing something about me, that's just me creating that reality. Does that make sense?
It does, and I think according to Mo Gaudat, who is predicting utopia in 10 to 12 years, you could be early to the party once more. But
I
I
I love
think
that phrase. I'm gonna hold that. So good, so good.
you might need to get a t-shirt, merch. Um,
We'll talk about it. We'll design it.
I'm here. I've got so many t-shirt ideas. Don't anyway. Um, I worry about Trojan horses, and there's two sayings. Eternal vigilance is the price of freedom, and only the paranoid survive.
Mm,
You know? So it's like, yes, and there's a lot of dark triad people out on the loose at the moment, kind of running around. So I believe Mo wholeheartedly. I really have so much faith in that man and his mind. He's got a beautiful soul and a absolutely mathematical mind. So he's genius and human. So if he says 10 to 12 years, that's good enough for me. But 10 to 12 years is not today. And
so
so until then, it could be a Trojan horse and it's going to get messy. I
can
don't
you
know.
explain I mean, I know what a Trojan horse is, but in your worldview, what does that mean in reality in the 3D? How do you see recent Trojan horses? What were those, and what do you think is coming? What could be a Trojan horse?
When something is co opted, hijacked, manipulated, um, under the guise or the premise of something benevolent or inert, So it's like, oh, it's just baby powder, you know?
Right, right.
Just
And then
baby.
you find out there's something mixed
See
in.
here, folks, because what is the best prison ever? The best prison is the one people don't know they're in, right? So if you make it like, oh, it's not a thing, not Epstein's files are not a thing. This is not a thing. There's no problem here. And meanwhile, it's been quietly or not so quietly engineered in the background and then used against you. And
Yeah.
that's what I mean by a Trojan horse. So yes, the tool of AI is inert. How we use it can go either way. And as a user, yes, I have full control and I have responsibility to craft my prompt as best I can and to always maintain that skill. But that's also limited to a sense because I'm not a programmer. I don't know what they're doing in Silicon Valley. I don't know what they're doing with those servers that are 3 times the size of Manhattan. Like, why they think it's okay to use up all the water and electricity for these servers. Like, what are these people up to? Like, what is going on?
Yeah. I think one of the funniest things that came out of the last 3 years is how quickly, the idea of climate change
Right?
disappeared as soon as we needed water for the servers. So that's kind of funny, and, uh, it's kind of fun to see the hypocrisy play out that way. Um, Tell me how you see Trojan horses, and also we can dive into Epstein for a bit in relation to what we started the podcast with, which is the benevolence of the universe and the ultimate fact that you are safe. But then compared to, well, we don't know what the next 10 to 12 years are going to be like. How do you think of all of these things together?
So I don't like one of the things that's often forgotten is the Romanian Revolution, and that happened a month after the Berlin Wall fell in December of '89. And the reason I bring that up is because if you watch the video, which is on YouTube, of the then dictator Ceausescu, he's doing his typical addressing his citizens. And there's a whole backstory as to how you had to go to these speeches, like otherwise you'd be arrested. It's not like, oh, he's going to speak, so I want to go. No, they would literally round up all the citizens, otherwise you get thrown in jail, and you all had to clap in unison. And you had to do the yeah, 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 whatever. Like that was all under duress and coercion. Like, make no mistake. Um, and initially, he was elected because he saved us from some other war, other country, I can't even remember what it was, but he was the savior, right? Very Trump-esque. He was the guy that was big enough and bold enough and protected us, and he was, got us out of this mess, so we want him there. The Queen even knighted him at some point during the 70s. Now, fast forward to '89, he's there doing his thing, and the butterfly effect kicked in. One person started booing, two people started booing, and you can hear, like, I still get chills. You can hear the crowd shift just like that.
Wow.
And then when a few people had the temerity, the audacity, and the courage
Yes.
to start booing, everybody was like, this is our time. And
Yes.
he was shot by his own army and executed in cold blood, him and his wife, on Christmas Day, 1989.
Mhm.
The revolution that happened literally came from a murmur in the crowd, but he was welcomed in because he saved us from the boogeyman. He was a Trojan horse. And so there is a lapse of time. I recently saw a podcast the podcast was called We Need to Talk. And it's really interesting, actually, because you never see the host. You only see his hand. Like, he puts all the attention on the guest, which is kind of cool. Um, but it's more of a Christian kind of a podcast, and she was an Epstein survivor, and she was trafficked and only got out when she was 30, and she's a Christian, and she's a faith, um, very deeply in her faith. Even though she was trafficked, she was still going to school, she was still in society, but she was very much in the grips of everything that was going on. And because of her faith, they discussed, like, why did God take so long to save you? Like, surely you prayed about this. Like, why aren't you angry at God? How do you consolidate only being rescued and freed at the age of 30? Like, how does that work? And she said that according to her conversation with God, that he summoned thousands of people, but there was only one couple that eventually accepted the call. Because the greatest injustice and the greatest suffering that a creator could make would be to remove your free will. And it took all those other people just refuse the call because your free will is paramount. And that's why it took 30 years for her to escape.
Yeah.
And so going back to free will, going back to consent, going back to personal agency, like, I'm not one about organized religion. I think that my faith is very, very private. It's very intimate. I have no interest in putting a target on my back or making it into a public discussion. It's not for anyone else except me. And so I don't discuss it, but I find it interesting, the nuggets that I get from different faiths, regardless of where they come from. There's value. I'm using my discernment. What can I learn from this? And that thing of like thousands of people got the call. They just didn't
Yeah.
move with it. I allowed them to have their personal agency. And that's the gap. That's the 10-12 year gap. And it's
And
it's exponential. You start with like a few, and then eventually there'll be an exponential number of us, enough of us that we can
yeah,
smoke out all the ones that are causing all the chaos.
indeed. Yes. And you mentioned the word audacity, like the audacity and the courage of that one person who started the first booing at the president. Um, and again, it kind of leads me back to COVID because those 3 years really showed us who first they showed us who would follow authority and who wouldn't. But then even amongst those who wouldn't follow authority, some were quiet and some spoke up and some spoke up a lot. And it was very hard to speak up, I think, for those people. It was not popular. Yeah, it was not the thing to do, I think. Um, and I regret to say that I was one of the people who definitely did not trust the authorities from the beginning, but I also was more quiet than I could have been. And so what I learned from that is like now when things are happening and when I'm seeing things, I'm going to speak up because it's just so fucking important. And like I sent a newsletter the other day called like We're All Living in a Truman Show. And I just wrote out some conspiracies that are not theories to me. They're just obvious things. And it was one of the only like usually my newsletters are quite mushroom family friendly. It's like everyone's already on the vibe. It's all love and light. But this newsletter definitely triggered some people. I I immediately got more email responses on that newsletter than I typically would. And it was exactly half half. Like half the people were like, "Oh my God, I've been thinking the same exact thing for many years. Thank you for describing exactly what I'm going through." And the other half were like, "Oh, I didn't know you were one of those crazy conspiracy theorists and not my vibe. See you." And it really stung at first to get that reaction, but then I thought, this is the way. Like, we can't be quiet anymore. If I see something with my two eyes that I know to be true through my soul and my intuition, I'm gonna speak up. Even I'm not gonna stay quiet the way I was during COVID. Even though I knew so much of it was wrong, I didn't want to put a target on my back, if that makes sense. And something has shifted where it's too important. We are living in the most important time in the world or in the simulation. This is the time. Like, who are you going to be? How do you want your soul to develop? Do you want your soul to develop courage or meekness? Right? And this is it.
Lockdown was very triggering for me, even though I left Romania when I was 5 in 1982, and I watched the revolution from the comfort of Montreal in 89.
Yeah.
It was very triggering for me. Like the empty, dark grocery stores, the masks. If you wanted to see someone, you had to like meet him in the fucking cereal aisle to catch like a 5-minute conversation, to like see your friend, meet you at the grocery store or whatever. You can't bloody go outside. People getting arrested for being on the beach, neighbors snitching on each other for social bragging points. Like our secret police in Romania was not one to be messed with. Like Securitate was for real. Like that's a whole other topic. So I'm watching all of this and I'm like, and I know in my head that trust the science is absolute bullshit because what they do is that they want a certain outcome and then they generate the scientific paper to basically prove the outcome, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why you have to ignore your gnosis ignore what you intuitively know, ignore your instinct and your intuition, divorce you from your innate wisdom and knowledge so that we can tell you what time of day it is. Because look, we have this piece of paper. Trust the science. No, no. And hopefully, people are now, pun intended, inoculated to
Mm,
the idea that
mhm.
anyone that has that much power has your interest at heart. And now it's like they were talking about hantavirus, but now that's gone away. It's like, whatever happened to that cruise ship? It's like, okay,
But you're, like, the one person on the cruise ship that was filming, like, a video
his
saying
sister is in pharmaceuticals.
no, but not only that,
His sister,
it's the same guy that also was scared of COVID, like, they're using the same actors to for both events. It's
did you see?
incredible.
Do you watch Tim Dillon at her? Do you ever watch
Uh,
Tim Dillon?
sometimes, yeah,
It's the best way to consume current events. It's once a week on Sunday. Thank me later. So
sure.
basically, he was like, we need to bomb that cruise ship. We shouldn't let that cruise ship land in the name of national security. We cannot, like, why are we even questioning this? Get rid of that cruise ship. Where are the drones? Like, he made a whole he's very satire and he's very funny, but we need satire because satire feels very appropriate. But people are like, hantavirus, and they can't do this to us, and they're in the comments going, how dare the government do this to us? And I'm replying to these people because I'm trying to get into, like, the fabric of, like, people's brains. So I reply to some of them directly and say, have you learned nothing? Do not consent. Do not consent. Quit moaning and complaining and pointing the finger and assuming that the government is stupid. What decision will you make when you are faced with that decision next?
Yeah,
Are you going to
exactly.
give in?
I think people are so dependent on the system that they just wanna go home. Like, they wanna, get off work, go home, rest as much as they can because it's so life is stressful for them, and so they're not thinking about the broader implications of consenting to inoculation or consenting to control or consenting to authority. Like, if tomorrow they manufacture some energy crisis, right? And in order to resolve it, everyone needs to go on digital ID. We've kind of seen that story play out with COVID. We sort of know what the majority of people will do, unfortunately, right? So I'm sitting here and I'm like, I can sort of see what might be coming, but I also don't see how to avoid it because the majority of people, they just want to get their paycheck and go home and feel safe in their home. And they're not, they're playing the game at a certain level and they don't want to engage with the game at another level.
This is the thing. I left Canada in 2002 because I was early to the party. I was like, no. And this is like early, like 2002. Things are still like cool. And I was like,
That is early. Wow. You saw the writing on the wall.
I was like, mm-mm. And I literally haven't stepped foot since 2013. I went back a couple of times between 2002 and 2013, but literally haven't stepped foot since. And the only time I got homesick was watching the truckers protest. I
Yeah.
got so homesick watching that, you
Mm,
know? And that was like, oh my God, Canada is a failed experiment because I am deeply grateful to Canada. I am an
yeah.
immigrant that's benefited, and I don't take that lightly in any way, shape, or form. In any way, shape, or form. I'm so grateful. But again, it's been co-opted and
Yeah.
hijacked and turned into something else. And now you say people want to go home from their job and be at home safe. People can't go anywhere. Fuel's
Right.
too expensive. Can't buy a house. No much money. Why can't they buy a house? Because they don't have a job. So, right? And they say it takes what? A few weeks or a few meals before you have a complete revolution. And
Mm,
that's, like, not very far, right? Like,
mm,
the way they're messing with the farmers, don't even get me started on what they did to those ostriches in Canada. Like, that whole story was
Actually, can we talk about that? I never really found out what the truth of that was.
I don't know very much about it, but there's just something about
There was something iffy about it for sure.
the ostriches had some sort of immunity, and this immunity was somehow beneficial to, the human body and COVID and whatever, whatever. But the farmers themselves weren't using the ostriches for that. They just had an ostrich farm. But for some reason, Health Canada decided
Yeah.
that these animals needed to be exterminated for no reason. And they didn't give a reason. They just said, we've now decided, period, the end. And that's what they did. And it was like 400 ostriches.
Yeah, and going back to the truckers, the only way they stopped that protest was to literally shut down their bank accounts. That
Yeah.
was the only way that they actually found a way to stop that. That's interesting to know.
But was it really a protest or was it a day party? Come on. You guys had bouncing castles. You had house music. Okay, they were honking the horns and it was noise pollution. That would have got on my nerves, admittedly. But it was a block party.
Yeah,
I
I
saw a report. I saw a news report where the reporter, what her biggest complaint is that somebody peed in the snow. It could have been a dog. She doesn't know. Nobody was burning anything down. There was no property vandalism. There was no fires. There was no. The only ones that were vandalizing were the cops walking around with baseball bats, smashing the windows of cars because it was so cold. That's where people were sitting to stay warm. So the cops were just going and tapping everybody's window, busting their windows.
yeah.
That's the only property damage that happened.
From what I understand, was a very peaceful protest, and that's what makes it worse. How it was all handled. Um, where do you think the world is heading to? Are we going towards a utopia or dystopia?
I don't know. Fact is so much stranger than fiction. Like, Days of Our Lives does not hold a candle to, like, I wake up in the morning, it's like, okay, what's it gonna be today?
Mhm, mhm,
Because you can't make this stuff up every week, every day. It's another curveball after another. What's in store for us? Everybody's saying that, you know, there's a storm and then there will be a clearing of the storm.
mm.
There's definitely gonna be a storm. So the chaos theory is coming before the creation part, I think. Um, even in terms of astrology and, all will be revealed and the great purge and the same constellation as during the revolution and the civil war and, like, these the planets are dancing up in the skies. Um, so all arrows are pointing that way, that we need to change and a lot needs to change. And that usually means mess. Your house usually gets messier before it gets cleaner, even though you're cleaning it. It gets worse before it gets better, right? If you have ADHD, there's no hope. There's 4 rooms that are not finished and they're all a mess.
Oh my
You
god.
take a bath because you forgot that you were cleaning or whatever. You know, um, where do I think we're going? I don't know. I can't make a prediction. Um,
Maybe a better question would be, what should everyone be focusing on right now in their own individual lives? How should people use their life force to get stronger, to get better, to prepare for whatever storm or clearing is coming?
each individual is a cell in the microorganism that is humanity, right? So we have trillions of cells in one body, and we are just one cell in this microbiome of humanity, right? And we all think we're sovereign beings, blah, 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 whatever. It is our mandate to not mutate. It is our mandate to remember that we have karma. It is our mandate to do the right thing by ourselves, to ourselves, and to others, if at our peril. And that's never going to be easy, but the alternative is worse. And so we have the obligation to do the right thing as much as we can. And I know that sometimes I'm just like talking to a brick wall because people just don't want to hear it. I heard someone say that what happened to Charlie Kirk was a freak accident. And I was like, I think you just gave me a migraine. Like, what? Instantly, like, my brain just like, what? So there's some people that you just can't get through. But anchoring in, again, I'm going to be a broken record because it just bears repeating, the benevolence of the universe. Keep your side of the street clean. Hang on to whatever faith you have. And I will say this: the Native Americans have this beautiful saying that they don't engage in anything that doesn't benefit the next 7 generations.
That's powerful.
And I just think that if we use that, if nothing else, as our signpost, everything else is subjective, everything else is cultural, opinion, personality, perspective. I get that, but let's use that as a metric.
I love that.
And the rest is, it is what it is. And we just have to say, okay, okay, okay.
And do some mushrooms once in a while to realign back with the source.
Yeah, let them talk to you. Let them find you. Let them download some of that information. Going back to some of my favorite psychedelics, it's LSD or mushrooms. And people often ask me, like, what's the difference? And mushrooms are very earthy. They're warm and they're earthy, and it's a warm experience. And you're having a conversation with your bestie, and it's like, it's really loving. It's firm. It's clear. It's unambiguous, but you're really loved. Um, LSD is like, I often call it like the squeegee on a really clean window. It just cleans your mind. Whatever cobwebs or dust or residue is in your mind, it's just like just squeaky clean, And of course, it's made out of ergot, which is a fungus that grows on corn. So they know, they've been here the longest. Whether it's a functional mushroom, turkey tail, lion's mane, chaga, reishi, tremella, whether it's a psychoactive, whether it's a hero dose, whether it's a microdose, they know something, and they are here to serve us. And they are here as benevolent allies. Um, and we have the obligation and the duty to thank them and to let them help us in whatever way is appropriate for our lives at the moment.
Love that. Asha, it's been a true pleasure talking with you and such a fun conversation. So many zingers, so many fun little quotes, and so many directions that we went into. Asha, thanks so much. And
Thank you, Jay. Thank you.
thank, to those listening at home, you can find us at jameszander.com for all the latest newsletters, podcasts. We have a retreat coming up July 1st to 5th, which is going to be very special for anyone who wants to have a cosmic journey. And I just launched my Unlock God Mode course on School as well. So you can find it at unlockgodmode.org. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.
See you on the flip side.